Hello and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Please welcome my very special guest, Solomon.
Should I give myself
You
applause?
should.
There we
Please
go.
give yourself some applause.
How you doing?
Nice.
Okay.
Solomon, I am excited to finally have you officially on the show, even though our viewers might know that you are a part of every production. And we are 5 seasons in, episode 5 of season 5.
hmm
So yeah, it's pretty exciting. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel good. I mean, I feel like it's been cool, watching you do this,
Mhm.
and go through the and interview interesting people. And you're right, you do learn something from everybody, no matter how mundane you think their job is or
Yeah.
whatever. There's always something you can learn. So it's been a cool experience watching you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I mean, you're kind of forced to listen to every episode, but
Yeah.
but I do appreciate it. So I'm glad you like the show. I mentioned this on my mom's episode, but I think probably the only people who have listened to every episode is me, my mom, and Solomon. So
Yeah.
I think that's a very tight circle.
That's true.
Nice. So as I was saying before, I've been teasing to this behind the scenes with Solomon, but to start off, I have a pop quiz for him.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so this is actually, you know what? We'll tease that a little bit longer. So let me just go into how I know you first.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, I was looking for a podcast studio to record this in last year around maybe September or something like that, and then I was touring around and looking at the available options, and then I came across Podcast Place, which you are the owner of, and you run this whole shop.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a clear best option for me in terms of services. I think Solomon's Place is head and shoulders above all the other places that are offered in my area, and the location is convenient. It's like down the street from where I live.
Oh,
And so yeah, we took a tour. The rest is history. And then 45 episodes in, here we are.
45
Yeah.
episodes.
And Solomon is no stranger to having a lot of experience and wisdom that we can learn from. I think you've had several businesses, right? Like I think you said you have like a
Uh,
tattoo.
yeah, I've done several things and I've had several businesses, but I've also, had several businesses that didn't either they failed or they didn't get off the ground. And I look at those experience points, and that's why you see my which
Yeah,
one is it? My tattoo
that
here.
one. With little
There we go.
tally marks.
Yeah, I can turn my arm. There you go, right here. So, yeah, so it's just an experience thing.
Hmm. I okay. I guess I do have a quick question.
Yes.
For don't want to say what your favorite podcast is, but I want to ask like, how's your experience been? You're the only person I know who runs a podcast studio.
Okay.
Yeah, so not to get into it too deep, but I'm just curious at a surface level, like how's it been these last, was it 3 years ish running a studio?
Yeah, since yeah, to 2001, I think.
2001. Okay,
Yeah.
so like 4 years.
Yeah.
So how's it been? Like you've produced a lot of different shows, you've been a part of different productions, and you've
Right.
heard so many different guests and hosts and topics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what's the general vibe of someone like in your position.
Well, the cool thing is, you're doing it because you're helping create these dreams for like people who want to really just come and do something. And you're taking away all of the hard stuff, right? So
Mm,
they can just come in and they can just be creative and they can do that. And so you're seeing people realize their dreams. And sometimes even when I'm doing this, I don't realize how much it means to them. You know what I mean? And they say things like, I appreciate it. And I go, well, you paid. So
mhm,
whatever,
mhm.
But it really does mean something because they say without you, I couldn't have done this or I wouldn't have done this. And so that's always good. So I've probably produced, I would probably say 1,500 episodes of
Dang. Yeah.
podcasts, you know, hundreds of shows. And some of the shows, people, they start them and then for one reason or another, they can't continue or whatever and they drop off. But others, they keep going. So it's been a cool experience to see it. And as you know, Long Beach is a vibrant community of all these different kinds of creators. So you have all these different kinds of podcasts and stuff
Mm.
too. So it's really cool to be part of people's creative journey. I think that's the most fun part for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool to hear. And I echo that sentiment too. I think Solomon is a large part of where this podcast is today. I know it maybe eventually would have taken off, but I think him being here and the service that he offers in Podcast Place is a big part of why 1000 Gurus is the way it is right now. So definitely appreciate you
Yeah.
and this space for that. Um, I guess I had something else, but I think I forgot. Um, yeah, no, I think we'll get into running a studio and
Okay.
your whole journey in a bit. So now let's go into the pop quiz.
Oh,
So this
okay.
one should be easy for Solomon. So it's a two-parter. One's the main question and one's the extra credit. So the
All
first
right.
question that I've been teasing Solomon for like months now is, what is my favorite anime?
Oh, I know that one. And why is the name slipping my mind? One Piece. There it is.
Yes,
One
correct,
Piece.
correct.
Yes.
Yay. Okay, so here's the bonus question. Who is
Okay.
my favorite character in One Piece?
Ooh, that one I don't know. I don't know if I heard you say it, but it's the little boy, right?
Uh, hmm.
I don't know his name though.
Yeah. Like, what is, can you describe what he looks like or what your impression of him is?
He has a hat like that.
Oh, so you mean Luffy, this one?
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking.
No, it's not him.
Okay, well then I wouldn't know. I don't know the characters
It's all
that much.
good. Yeah, yeah, no, that's why this one's the bonus question because I figured you may or may not get it. It's Zoro.
Okay.
It's the middle guy. So
Oh,
he's the one. He's the
okay.
swordsman. He's his color scheme is green,
All right.
and his whole thing is that he does three sword style. So one sword in each hand and one in his mouth, and he holds it like this.
Oh,
And so that's his thing. He's like the
really?
only three sword style person, but he's so badass. And like I've mentioned him before on the podcast, so I was like, okay, he might not get
I
this
might have
one.
missed that one.
No, 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 it's all good. That's why it's a bonus question. I'm like,
All right.
okay,
Well, at
he
least I got
should
one right.
exactly. You got the main one right. I knew you would get One Piece right, but I was like, we'll see if he gets Zoro right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, good job, good job. Okay, so we'll go into our regular topics now. So,
Okay.
first one is always origin story, background, main influences, career aspirations. So, Solomon, where did you grow up, and what's your overall background?
Well, believe it or not, I was born in the Bay.
Oh, really?
Well, not in the Bay,
Yeah.
Stockton.
Oh, Stockton. Okay.
And but I didn't grow up there. I was there in the first few years, and then I think in the fourth grade, my dad moved us down to LA, and
Mm.
so I grew up in what's now called Koreatown.
Oh,
So
K
I went
Town.
to school, and I went to school there. Went to high school in at Belmont High School, which is near downtown LA. Mostly Hispanic school. And from there, I got out of high school and I was gonna go to college. My mom worked at USC,
Mm.
and so we were supposed to get a free ride, but she worked for the head coach of the football team. She was his secretary. So then what happened was he went to the Rams. He got hired by the Rams,
Mm.
and so she went with him. So
Mm.
there went the free ride.
Oh, dang.
So um basically I ended up getting a job at McDonald's, and I worked there for a number of years, and I had a kid young, had a daughter young. And then basically it was just living life at that point, just growing up and doing what you had to do. I went to LACC for a while, city college. And from there I moved up in McDonald's, like I was a manager and all that stuff. And let's see, trying to think. It's
It's been a
see, that's what
while.
I'm saying. It's a lot of
Yeah,
decades,
yeah,
but
yeah.
eventually I got into car stereo. My dad a long time ago had taught me how to put two wires together and tape them, and that like really formed this interest in car audio. And so I've always been self-taught. So I taught myself um how to put things in cars and stuff like that. And so I went to Radio Shack with a bunch of cards one day and said, "Hey, I you have customers who want to do that, get their stuff installed that they buy from here, that I can do it." And they called me. I'd go to their house and I install radios and car phones and stuff like that. And so I got reasonably good at it. And I got a job at a place called The Good Guys, and they had that up north, I believe, for a while.
Mm.
They're no longer in business. It was basically like a Circuit
Circuit
City,
City, yeah.
yeah, like that. Um, so I did that for a number of years in sales, and then I ran the installation bay, and that just sort of moved me into other aspects of the career. So I went from there, and I worked for a company that sold car alarms, and they had an office in Irvine, so I worked there. And then they were like, "We're going to close our office in Irvine," so they offered me to move to Michigan to their home base.
Mm.
And so I moved to Michigan, and that was a real different way of life there. I mean, here in California, we're like, people want to aspire to do things, right? They want to aspire to be better. But there, people, it seemed like people just wanted to grow up, marry the girl next door, get a job at one of the big three,
Mm.
and just work and retire. And that was just all they wanted out of life. And the lifestyle was just a real big culture shock for me. Um, And so after about 3 years, I wanted to get back to California. So I came back and I got a job at a magazine that covered the car stereo industry.
Mm.
And they hired me as editor, even though I didn't have any editor
Oh,
experience, but
interesting.
it was based on the fact that I had a lot of industry experience. So I did that job for a good number of years, probably 8 years. In 2008, I decided to open up like a marketing agency, and there I was helping companies that would advertise in the magazine. I was helping them, get in contact with their customers and retain these relationships and stuff like that. And so I did that for a while, and then the magazine got sold, and the new owners asked me to come back and do that. So now I was doing both.
Mm.
So I
Come
did
back
that
and do
up
what?
until probably 2010.
Oh,
Uh,
like come back and still be an editor or
yeah, come back and be an editor. So I was editor of the magazine, and then I was still doing marketing on the side.
I see, I see.
So yeah, I did that all not 2010. I did all the way up to 2020, and then COVID hit, and all of the clients that I was working with, I had lost, and the magazine decided to go digital.
Mm.
So basically, it's like now time for a pivot. Like, what are you going to do? And and I was in this space at the time, but it was obviously more just like an office space, right? But I had been messing around with the idea of doing like a podcast studio type,
Mm.
and mainly it was because I can have clients come in and they can shoot their, you know, open box opening. What do you call it?
Unboxing?
Unboxing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Their unboxings and stuff like that, and and then just walking around the neighborhood, you hear people talk about, I would love to do a podcast,
Mm.
but this and that, right? So I actually started setting it up. I bought the URL, cost me like $1,000, podcast place, and built the website, put in the financial system where people could, pay for episodes and stuff like that. But then I just let it sit because COVID started. So then coming out of COVID, I was like, well, I need to figure out something to do. I don't know about this podcast thing. I haven't done it. So I think I should put my energy into trying to regain some of my marketing clients. So in the process of doing that, one day I got a call and I said hello and it said, hey, I just wanted to make sure my session's on for tomorrow. And I'm like, who is this? And it was some kid out of Moreno Valley. And he goes, yeah, I signed up on the website and everything to do my podcast tomorrow. And I'm like, "You did?" And so I went and looked at the website and it said, sure enough, there was $99 that had been
Yeah.
sitting in there or whatever it was at the time. I
Yeah.
think I was charging 69 bucks. And so that forced me to start it,
Mm.
because I was actually thinking, let me just take this stuff down, it's a waste of time or whatever. And so that forced me to start it. So that next day, that kid came in and I wasn't really prepared. And I remember I recorded it using Zoom, thinking, well, Zoom is easy, that's easy to record, but not thinking that Zoom records in the lowest quality because
Mm.
they're concerns with bandwidth and
Bandwidth,
all of
yeah.
that. But so it was a learning experience from there. And my next clients were these four kids who lived locally. They went to three different high schools in the area, and they wanted to do a podcast on seniors, being seniors, going through COVID, dealing with the mental health issue and all of that stuff, but they didn't have that much money, so they were like, "Well, we can pay you $10 a piece." So it's
Mm.
like $40. I said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna make some mistakes because I'm still learning stuff." And so we came to an agreement, and they did their podcast for that whole year, until they graduated. And in that time, you learn a lot because you think, "Oh, okay, I've got this table I want to put here." Oh, but when you put it in front of camera, it doesn't really work. And so you learn from doing it. And that experience with them gave me a lot of the experience to like change things and add things the way it needed to be or the way it is now. And I've gone through a lot of iterations, and I think I've told you the story of how I have the two sets, right? This is set A for small stuff, and I was doing everything on this side. So when four people wanted to do a podcast, I put a table
Mm.
lengthwise and two people sit on either side. And one day these Samoan guys came in and they said, well, we want to do our podcast
Mm.
here. And they were all like 6'5", 6'6", and they were, our guests are going to be other Samoan guys because, we're promoting the community. And they were all big guys. I'm like, okay, they're not going to fit here. So then that made me take my other side, which was previously seating for clients and stuff from the marketing business, and I turned that into set B.
Mm.
and so that'll sit, 5 people or 3 or 4 really big people, and so it just gave me space to do both. And so it was just a process of now taking everything that I had made with all the cameras and all of that stuff and making it work for both sides. So that was a process, but that was probably the funnest part for me though, building everything. But yeah,
Mm.
that's the basic start of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was such a wild journey that you gave us the
Yeah.
TLDR of your own entire like career path. That's cool.
Yeah.
What I admire about you, Solomon, is that since I've known you and it's only been less than a year, is you. It seems like you're the type of person who likes to iterate, adapt, see what you can improve and make it better. I
Yeah.
think every time I come in, you usually have something that you're tinkering with or wanting to improve.
Yeah.
Even since October, you've improved a lot. And going through your story, it seems like I guess, you're no stranger to pivoting and going into new opportunities and
Right.
learning and growing, which I think is great. And then it seems like even just opening up the space, it was trial and error, but it was all everything was created by a demand, meaning some a problem came in and then you kind of created the solution as opposed to just like
Right.
preemptively planning everything out. You're kind of just going with the flow and building on it, right?
Yeah, and that's how it is sometimes because you go in with an idea of what you think will work, right? And I'll give you a good example. I put a conference room table in the conference room there, right? His glass table and everything. And I thought, oh, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so a guy came in and he sat at the table and he's a big guy and he put his arms on the table and the table slid.
Oh,
And so I'm like, oh, I need to put some things there to keep so you put these pads under and so it keeps the table in one spot. So it's like it's just little things like that. And even in this area here, originally I had like a big flat table like this, and then when two people talk to each other, it's very awkward.
mm,
So then that's why I said, let me get a half round table so they can sit at either sides and they can still face the camera, but still be able to look at each other. And so it's little things like that that, you just constantly evolve, right? Like the lights used to face all front, but then it would glare too much on the screen. So
mm,
now you put them off to the side and put them at angles, and you just experiment with it. And one of the things that I tell people is when I originally started this, the thing that I wanted to really have was the ability to have the multi-camera switching because a lot of podcast studios they said they would promote they've got this super duper camera, but they only had one. You know
mm,
what I mean? And so I wanted to have that, but I couldn't afford that. So actually, I started with all webcams, and so it's all webcams in here. And eventually, I slowly when people when you said, okay, I want to be able to zoom. You can't zoom with a webcam,
mm.
at least not when you keep the resolution. So then it was a matter of okay, how do I do it? Well, I went and bought a bunch of Sony A6000s off of OfferUp one by one
Mm.
and eventually just swapped them all out. And so now you get better picture quality, you get the ability to zoom and just really create a better visual experience. So, but you're right, it's still evolving. I think right now I've got it to a point where I'm very happy with the ability to produce good content, but I'm sure there's some more evolving that's going to come along.
Yeah. Are there any things on your more immediate to do hit list for what you want to improve on or evolve your business?
Um, right now I think I need to focus on the social media aspect of it.
Okay.
One of the things I want to do is create a video that walks people through the experience of being here, right?
Like a
And
virtual tour?
yeah, and because I do studio tours, but I want something where it's online and it's more than just the space. Because if you think about it, like people view this like a music studio, like the first question is how much per hour, as if all of them are the same. And my big thing is, well, this is a whole different experience.
Mm,
So if I can go online and tell people, and a lot of that too has come from just listening to people, right? The things that they think are important, right? Like you'll hear people come in and sit down and go, "Oh, I can see myself while we record," or "Oh, you can give me messages on the screen. Oh, I can talk to you." It's all these little things, right? And so these are things that I probably didn't value because I'm subjectively involved in this. I'm building, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, duh." But to them, it's a big deal. And
mm,
so now I want to create something that shows these experiences that yeah, you can come in there are drink trays by your thing that you can customize your set, all of these things, including now, we have the green room with a whole vanity set for everything with everything you need. So if I can do that, put that out on social media, I would feel like I'm doing my business a service by helping promote it the way it should be. and differentiating me from competitors and other things, things like that.
I see. I see. That makes a lot of sense. I think that would definitely be a huge value add. It'd be
Yeah.
crazy to see how Podcast Place was like years ago, just based on
Oh,
the story, and again, even just my experience being here starting in October
yeah.
until now, seeing how much has changed, like just to see how much it really changed from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I still have a couple of those webcams left. I use them
Yeah.
here to, to record the buttons I press so that I can put it on the screen so I can just look up like this instead of looking down and still see the buttons that I wanna press, but yeah, that it was an experiment, a lot of experimentation going on,
Mm.
with lighting, with everything, so I'll dig some pictures up for you
Yeah.
if you wanna see it.
Definitely. I guess my next question is, well, I kind of I'm curious to know, maybe the best question to start off with is if you could redo everything from the beginning, right?
Mhm.
2001 or whatever year that you started, with the lessons you've learned now, what do you think you would do differently if you were to go back to square one
Now, you're talking about with the podcasting?
with the podcast studio? Yeah.
Mm, well, it would probably evolve the same way though,
Hmm.
because I
Just
mean,
things come
like I
along,
said, you
get
you
better.
you think you go by what you think you know,
Hmm.
and then your audience. It's like with anything, right? You go by what you think you know. And your audience tells you what it's going to be, right? And I tell people that when they start their podcast too. You might think it's going to be this, but wait till your audience chimes in. And I think the process was is about the same. Uh, the thing is, I really enjoy building, and I think if I had to say, like people say, well, what do you really enjoy? I think I really enjoy the process of like integrating things and making them work together. You know what I mean? That's always been something that I get something out of. So if you look at the value of the stuff here, yeah, there's some stream decks here, but everything has a price on it. Nothing's overly expensive. The computers are used, the monitors are used, and all this stuff. But it's how they're put together and how they work together. That's what makes it really valuable. That's the whole IP, I guess you could say, in it. So it will still be an evolution process, I guess. Now if you said I had to go do this, go build another studio somewhere else,
Uh-huh.
uh I guess there, obviously I would take what I know here, but the fun part of this also is you gotta have some limitations, right? If somebody just said, "Well, money's no object, get whatever
Right.
you want," there's no fun in that,
Right, right, right. The constraints are what makes the game
Right,
fun. Yeah.
right. And so when they say, when you say, "Okay, I got 700 square feet of space," and you wanted to have all of these capabilities and then not feel crowded for someone walking in here,
Mm.
then that's a challenge, right? I mean, like, I've showed you the mini studio we have right here in the little closet area. It's like it's a challenge to build something functional with limited space or limited resources. That's the fun part.
Mm. Okay, 2 questions then. So,
Yes.
for that experiment, if you were to start a new studio, what would be the first few things that you focus on as you build it out? And the second thing is, as a business owner, entrepreneur, manager of the studio, what are some of the core values or focuses do you have when building a business?
Um, well, the biggest thing for me is I can answer the second one first,
Sure.
I think. Is the customer experience. And that's something that I always focused on. And one of the things I told myself is I'm not going to make rules until I need to.
Mm,
And so when you come in, you don't see any signs that say you're being filmed, know this, know that, and I felt like I'm not going to really put these things in place until I need to, because I want to create that good experience, right? So I tell people don't come in here with more than two people if who aren't going to be on camera, but I've had people come in here with 15 people,
mm,
right? And so what do? You offer them all water and you make them feel at home. You find them seats, you say, "Hey, you want to watch?" You still want to give them that good experience. Um, but that was a big thing. Just the experience of coming in here. I want everybody to feel like it's this, like, guys come in, "Oh, it's like Disneyland. I don't want to leave," because you got all this equipment and stuff going on. And women feel comfortable, because the process of creating, and I tell people this, it's like even though it's you're creating something for thousands of people, hopefully, right? the process is still an intimate process. It's still you're sitting here watching someone bare their soul or or step out of their box or do something that they've never done before. And so you have to make them comfortable during that process, you know. And so that's always been the first thing for me. The second thing is to deliver, a quality experience, right? Give people more than they paid for. And a lot of that comes from, like I said, anybody can list a bunch of equipment, on a website or whatever. And that's why I don't list my equipment because it's not about the equipment. It's about how you use it and how it's put together to create that cool, unique experience. So those are the important things for me. What was the first one again?
First one was the thought experiment of if you had to start another studio, what would be
Yeah.
the first things or main things you focus on or prioritize?
Yeah. And I guess it would be the same. I guess obviously we could bypass a lot of the evolution steps, but depending on that spot. But for this kind of work, the first thing you want to think about is noise, though, right? Because you want it to be reasonably quiet. Here, we're lucky to be three stories up, so we get the occasional police siren. But after beyond that, it's it's a perfect space to record.
Mm.
So that would be the first thing I'm in looking at a location.
Location, right?
And then after that, it would be what you want the space to do. Like, you got to look at who are the potential customers. So is it going to be like here we have the two, seating, which is interview style, or do you want to do a table, or do you want to do a larger thing? And then how versatile do you want to make it? So it would be designing the space, and just being able to keep the same values where people can come in and make it theirs. It's not about our branding, and just keep that versatility. I think I'd want to do that.
I see.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So like location obviously is the biggest thing, but
Right.
you're gonna be focused as usual on the whole user experience, right? The
Yes.
UX of it all
Yeah.
and delivering the quality service, like you said.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So I know we talked a lot about business. I'm curious if you don't mind digging into like personal life, just to let's humanize you. I think we all know what Solomon's about. He's an amazing dude.
I'm not human.
Yeah, and he's not human. He's just a robot. So you have kids, right? You have two kids,
Yeah.
and you're married.
Yes.
And what was I gonna say? And you said your wife is Filipino, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something that I was like, oh well. So I mean, you know this. A lot of my podcast guests are like
I know
Filipino.
that's what qualified me to be a
Yeah,
guest.
exactly. Because you're Filipino, so you check one of those boxes, or you're Filipino by marriage.
Yeah.
Well, how old are your kids again? I know you said one of them's in college.
Yeah. My oldest daughter, she's 37.
Yeah.
And my youngest is 20, and yeah, she goes to Berkeley. My oldest daughter works in the veterinary field. She runs a hospital.
Mm.
So
So that's like what is like 17-year difference. Wait, so what was it like growing up? Well, not growing up, but like being married to a Filipino woman? Because I'm
uh,
sure you have some familiarity with the nuances of Filipino culture.
yeah, my mom was half Filipino.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well,
the
that's more
reason.
lore that I'm learning then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
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 she
you're a quarter Filipino then.
yes,
Okay, and then
yeah,
you married a Filipino woman.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So but she didn't really practice
Mm,
any of that. The only real Filipino person I knew in our family was her father.
mm,
And his name was George Ramirez Galvin. Um, I don't know where from the Philippines he came from. I guess I could look one day,
mm,
but marrying a Filipino woman, she came here when she was about 14 to the US. And so she was pretty, Americanized, I guess, already. They said, where she came from. She says everybody there speaks English and all that. So it's been I mean, it's been cool. I mean, she I wouldn't say she was traditional, like, she didn't like cook dinner and all that stuff.
mm,
I mean, we ate out pretty much, I guess we eat out a lot, but she will go to, the Filipino place and get the best stuff and all of that.
mm.
So, but yeah, it's been all right. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything uniquely Filipino
Right.
about her, but
Yeah.
her mother's very Filipino.
Oh, I see.
So, we had to do a lot of that. Like I'm, go over there and help her put stuff together and fix her computer and do things like that.
Do they
But
have like a big family on her side?
No, they don't.
Oh,
Actually, it was they came here. She has a brother, and he lives up north in San Francisco, and the father passed away. So it's a small family here, and so that's why it's not the traditional,
mm.
Filipino
I
big
see. Because I
family.
was gonna ask if you've been to like Filipino parties where it's like a bunch of people and
Uh,
everyone tells you to eat and you have to eat all this food because you know what I mean?
Now I have, but not because of that.
Gotcha.
It was before I was married. I used to go to this church, Iglesia Ni Cristo.
Mm.
And, if you're from the Philippines, it's one of the larger churches there.
Okay.
And so there, of course, most people are Filipino, and yeah, you get a lot of, "Brother, eat
Hmm.
more," and
Hmm.
so it's like you can't just go home after church, it becomes this whole day process because, people are eating and you're doing different things and being part of the community. So that was really fun.
Mm.
That was really fun.
Yeah. It's interesting. So now, yeah, you're part of the Filipino. We accept you, Filipino culture. Okay, let's see. I We went over your career kind of journey. Did you have any aspirations? I know you kind of were doing a lot of things and it evolved over time, but when you were younger, maybe in
Mhm.
high school, did you have any sort of aspirations that stuck out to you?
Well, I had the thing that most kids do where the teachers say, "What do you wanna be?" And you say something that impresses them.
Oh yeah.
So I think
What did you say that
I
impressed
told
them?
them I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, and I
Uh,
was like, you know,
but there wasn't anything about aerospace engineering that you
um,
liked?
space. I
Okay.
mean, the word space was in it. That was
Mm.
that was sorta it for me. I mean, I'm a sci-fi nut, so,
Mm.
I'm always my head's always in the clouds. I'm, always listening to an audiobook about space travel or military sci-fi or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but my aspirations, I think, um, came after high school. Just even when I was working at McDonald's, it was always about just trying to get in someplace and prove that you can be better, right?
Mm.
And a lot of that comes from being, black in this country, though,
Mm.
because you go into places and people think you can't do something. And so you always feel like you have to prove yourself just to start at the starting point of everybody else, right? And so you find yourself in a lot of spaces where you're the only black person in the office area or the only black person doing this or that. And so it's always that, it's a cultural gap and it's just people don't understand, that it's harder for you, because they're whether people believe it or not, there are limitations people try to place limitations on what you can do. And so for me, that's always been like something that pushed me a lot. You know what I mean? And even in, starting a business, it's not just starting it, it's making it the best, making it a unique experience. And so that's still there. It's always going to be there. You just understand where you're at culturally in this country. And you just try to make the best of it.
Mm.
You try to do the best you can.
Yeah. So I'm curious if you were to go back to high school, so
Yeah.
it's the thought experiments, right?
Yeah.
And if you could read now, knowing what you know now and knowing your personality, your self awareness,
Yeah.
if you could choose a major and pursue a sort of different career, like, I don't know, engineering or actual aerospace engineering or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
what do you think you would want to do or what do you think you'd be good at?
Um, well, coming out of high school, wow. I think I would go to college because I didn't. I would definitely do that.
Do you
You
know
know.
for what or what you might be curious in studying?
Um It would probably have something to do with electronics or aerospace engineering just because that was really my interest in terms of, just the whole idea of going to space and being part of that whole movement. It would probably be that, you
Mm.
know. Um but I think too I would I would kiss the girl Lori who I had a crush on in
Oh
high
yeah,
school.
you go back to that, kiss the
Yeah.
girl, and then also maybe engineering.
Yeah, yeah, if I had to do it all again, I would
Valid.
show some guts and, tell Lori something, but anyway.
Mm. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think you say that like wanting to go to space and maybe aerospace engineering or something like that, being an
Mhm.
astronaut. And strangely enough, I feel like that vibe sort of fits. I mean, you built this whole place. You're like a
Yeah.
tech guy, like electronics and whatnot. I feel like you would be, one of those in that sci-fi space movie, and then part of the crew, and like
Yeah.
you're like the technician sort of guy who wires everything and makes sure everything's like kosher. I feel like you would fit that role really well.
Yeah, maybe. Of course, I want to be the captain, though.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
a captain with a lot of technical knowledge and people skills, right?
yeah, well, that's how I always feel like, even in here, like if like I could show you how to operate this because it's designed to be simple, but you have to design it first and know everything about it before you pass it on to other people, right? So that's how I put things together.
Mm,
So yeah, if I'm a spaceship captain,
yeah.
I probably build half the ship at that point.
I can see that
Yeah.
because you do have. It seems like you are that mix of technical knowledge, but also the people skills that I feel like are important for a captain.
Yeah.
Okay, so we covered a lot so far, but I guess just to refocus on being a business owner, because I have some pre-written questions here.
Okay.
What are some of the toughest challenges that you faced running a business, and what do you feel like has helped you the most along the way?
Well, I think the toughest challenge is number one is knowing where your resources are.
Mm,
Because for the most part, anybody who gets into an entrepreneurial space that they're not taking over from somebody else, you're going in with more emotion than anything. You know what I mean? And more like, something you want to do this thing, but you're not going in with a lot of business knowledge, right? And so you go through the basic steps, and later you find out, oh, I should probably hire an accountant, or I should, have a tax guy, or whatever this is, But um, yeah, you're starting with just a lot of your emotion and your excitement to do it, and then you got to backfill that now with like the actual knowledge to run a structural business,
mm,
right? And a lot of that includes customer service things and things like that. Um, but another challenge as for being a business owner is your time management. It can suck your whole life. It can take your whole life because if you think about it, every time you wake up, like, if you got a regular job at 9 to 5, right? If you know you got to be at work at 9, you can get up at 5, you can go to the gym, you could do this stuff, right? But when you're a business owner and you wake up at that 5 o'clock, you go, there's something I could be doing there. There's
mm,
something I could be changing, fixing, improving, whatever. And it's always that, right? Your time on weekends where you be home Sunday, just relax in front of the TV. You're thinking, wow, I could go fix that thing at work, or I could go program this to do that. And so then you're always here, or your mind is always here. And so if you don't control that, you find that you really have no life, or you've lost a lot of opportunities in your life that, time with your kids, time with your spouse or whatever. And then you get the complaints, and you get all these other aspects of your life that then begin to stress you out, which make you then spend more time at work because you don't want to deal with that. And so it can really throw off your work life balance. And I will say this though, there's times when you need to do that. When you're first starting a business, you need to put your all into it, but there just needs to be a time limit to it, or a spot where you go, okay, I've got it to this point. Now I need to scale back, right? Like for instance, when I first started this business, I didn't schedule any days off. It was like
mm.
you could come in
7
here
days
and
a
pick
week.
any day
Yeah,
you want,
yeah.
and then you get to a point though where, okay, now I built enough business. Okay, now I need to have at least one day off. And so now I take Tuesdays off, right? And eventually I want to get to a point where I can take 2 days off in a row, But I enjoyed just doing it like this. People's like, oh, well, do you want a bigger space? Well, no. You need to hire a bunch of employees? Well, not really. I enjoy the business. I enjoy the personal interactions with the creators. I mean, I enjoy being part of your story. Um, but yeah, like I got off a little off tangent,
Mm,
but yeah, I think time management is one of the biggest things.
yeah. What do you feel like has helped you to sort of scale back that and balance your time more effectively as a business owner now that you have it where it's at?
Well, I think the biggest thing is time in business, right? Because there's some things that happen naturally when you're in one location for a while. People start to notice you, right? Because number one, you're there, and you like become dependable in the neighborhood, right? Even if they haven't looked at your services, right? So then what happens is people say, "Oh, this guy's been around for a while," and so you start getting organic business that way, right? So that helps. So more business now helps me to the point where financially I can say, okay, I can afford to take this day off, and do that. You're still taking a chance, of course, and that's the thing with a small business, with owning your own thing. You're always taking a chance. People think it's glamorous. It's not glamorous. It's
Mm.
It's a lot of work. Like I saw somebody say you're training a 9 to 5 to a 5 to 9. It's like that, you know. You're just constantly working or constantly because especially when you're a solopreneur, as they call it, like me, like you're the visionary, but you're also the guy who has to implement everything. And then you're the guy who has to sweep the floors at night and refill the refrigerator with water bottles and put Reese's in the thing. You know, all of these things. You have to do all of these pieces. And so a lot of times it's like wearing many hats, right? And one of the things that's really difficult is let's say I plan to do like a social media post twice a day for the next week, right? And so that's my plan, and I'm gonna be the one to implement that plan. But then something happens. Let's say, a client who was supposed to pay you didn't come through or whatever. Now you're worried about how you're gonna pay the rent this month or what do you gotta do this. So that throws off everything, because you just now you're not in the right mental headspace. Whereas if you had an employee, you tell the employee, do this thing. Now, no matter what happens to you, the employee is still gonna do that thing, right? And so that's one of the difficulties too when you're working by yourself. It's just keeping your mental headspace right so that you can get the things accomplished that you want to accomplish. And most of the time it's a triage process. Like I don't consider the social media things that important. But if it's something that affects my ability to record or process files for clients, I prioritize that no matter how I feel. You know what I mean? So it's still a work in progress. It's still something that I'm working on, trying to be able to say, okay, no, I need to prioritize this and I need to do it no matter what. But it's just an ongoing thing.
I see.
Yeah.
So I kind of know an idea of the answer for the next one, but I know that you mentioned that you like the scale of where you're at now, right? Like, that you just said it's an intimate process and you're
Yeah.
kind of involved and a part of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you or would you see a future where you do scale up to that one next level where you do have an employee kind of handle some of that smaller stuff or just to unload some of that work so that you free up more time to focus on other things?
The answer is yes, because then that gives you the ability to do things like take vacations and
Mm.
stuff like that, right? But um I guess what I mean by that is, and this is something that you find when you get later on in life, is the word fulfillment becomes more important,
Mm.
right? Becomes more important to you. It's not about success. It's not about money. It's just about fulfillment. And fulfillment to me is when you can feel good about what you do. And I feel good about what I do. You know what I mean? And so you hope that you can do something that is fulfilling, but then also pays the bills, right? And so if I can get to a point, so yeah, the answer is yes. If I can get to a point where I can still get fulfillment out of the job, maybe that's taking on working directly with clients that I like, and someone else does some other things, or someone like you said does some of the background stuff. Yeah, I would be happy with that, because that shows that the business has grown, and then also part of that fulfillment is that now you're creating a living, helping somebody else make a living for their family, and that would be a cool thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that as you see it now, how much do you think you would want to scale your business?
Well, I don't think I'd want to do a thing like multiple locations and
Okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think what I'd like to do is get the most I can out of this location. And so from that, it's like reaching out to. There's a few different ways of going about it. Of course, you always want to fill the schedule, right? But you can also do things like, create programs for people who podcast at home and just coming off as sort of like an industry expert saying, okay, here's a series of videos or workshops on how to create your own thing or whatever. So there's ways to make money in that. There's ways to, and I've thought of a podcast that I want to do here, and it's a podcast about podcasting,
Mm.
and so I have some ideas there as well. And then of course you can have people who can help you with that kind of stuff, but it's making the most out of what you've already built. And when you proceed in life, you'll find that that's where all your best opportunities are going to come, with leveraging what you already know, the experiences you've already had, the people you've already met. That's where all your opportunities are going to come to grow. When you have to start over, that's crazy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you ever had any plans or an idea to start your own podcast. I mean, you have the infrastructure for it, but I wasn't sure if you were like interested at all.
Well, it's funny because I always say, what what could I say to people that would, because I feel like I'm a jack of all trades, but I'm not really a master of anything. But at the end of the day, I am considered a podcast producer. I am considered a podcast professional. I mean, I produce thousands of podcasts, right? So I guess I could take that and then put that together and find, basically follow your model, right? There's something someone can learn from what I have from my experience. And so the idea is a podcast called Podcast Engineering, in which I show people the behind the scenes of how I produce podcasts and just have it start from there.
Mm, that
So
sounds interesting.
yeah, and so I it's one of those things I put all the pieces together. I
Yeah, yeah.
just need to launch it. I just
Launch
need
it.
to
Yeah.
do it, you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, if anyone's in a position to launch a podcast, it's you.
Well, yeah, I mean, right. It's not like I'd have to pay for anything,
Right,
right?
and you
But
know exactly how to do it, so
yeah,
that's
I mean,
cool.
the thing, it's always though, like I don't make a lot of commitments in my life, because when I make a commitment, I stick to it,
I'm the
right?
same, yeah.
And so, once you start, you're making a commitment. So I just need to be able to be sure that I'm going to be able to fulfill that commitment once I start.
Mm,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, last question on this topic is, do you have any general or specific advice for other wannabe business owners, entrepreneurs who want to get into the field? You have a lot of experience from various different fields and areas and your own life.
Yeah.
Anything you want to pass along as advice?
Well, if you're starting a business, I would probably say one of the first things to do is get somebody to help you manage your finances, you know. And I mean, like, just make sure you have a really good bookkeeper, somebody who can help, get you online, because a lot of businesses run into trouble because they don't prioritize that part early on, and I ran into this same trouble. And the next thing you know is a year down the line, you owe the state $800 because you didn't know you have to pay them every year if you have a corporation.
Mm,
There's all these little things you didn't know. And so rather than you spending time to do all of that, because then that takes you out of what you're good at, you find somebody who knows that stuff, that tells you, okay, you need to do this, you need to prioritize this, and they stay on top of all of that for you. And it's just one less headache you deal with when you go into growing the business and buying equipment and things like that. It also helps you just really stay like within your means, to know what your capabilities are and growth. So um, you're not just out of control going, well, yeah, I made $100 today. I can spend 90 on this new piece of equipment,
mm.
because again, a lot of entrepreneurs are driven by just the excitement of being in the business, and they're not really thinking about that. So I would always say that's the first step for anybody.
It's good advice. Asking for a friend, but do you have any resources or where people can start if you're looking for bookkeeper or someone to help with their accounting or finances, set
Mm.
it up?
Uh,
Recommendations?
I can tell you where I I failed. I've I failed at Craigslist though.
Okay.
So um I'm sure there's some resources out there. I don't know if Angie's List covers that kind of stuff, but
Mm.
um what I would do is look around the neighborhood, because
Someone local.
yeah, because number one, you're gonna want to create that relationship with somebody. So I don't necessarily like the online stuff. I'll look around the neighborhood and find somebody and interview them. You know what I mean? Like, get in there and just ask them about things. And it's so funny. You can pick up on little things. Like if a guy's office is just sloppy and there's stuff everywhere, it's probably not the guy you want to
Mm.
work with. If he's
To
got
work with your finances.
Yeah, if he's got pizza on his tie
Yeah.
and things like that. And that really happened.
Yeah.
Um, I also had a guy who promised a lot of stuff but didn't deliver. So sometimes it's a process of finding the right person, but don't be afraid to move on to the next person, and just find somebody that you can trust, because you want it to be a long-term relationship that helps you and helps your business. So
Mm.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I asked that just personally because there are a couple of businesses that I'm looking to launch in the next
Okay.
few years. And finances, I've been watching a bunch of YouTube videos on like bookkeeping for solo businesses,
Yeah.
like solo proprietorships and whatnot, just to make sure that at least I have a general knowledge so that when I look for someone to help with the finance side,
Yeah.
at least I'm not being sidelined with or sideswiped with something that I don't really know anything about. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So yeah, I'm kind of in that process of like, yeah, I have the idea. I know what I'm gonna do infrastructure wise, but I do want to get the finance piece down from the beginning.
And that reminds me of another tip for people is when you start a business, you want to focus on the things that you're good at, and the things that you're not good at, you want to let somebody else do it, right? So if I'm doing this and I built my own website and people go, "Oh, well, can you build my website?" Right? And they say, "Oh, I'll pay you this or that or whatever." It's a good idea for you just to stick to the things that you're good at and just let you know what I got a friend who builds websites, blah blah blah, and just send that off. So just stay focused on the things that you're really good at. I would tell people that.
Right. It's good advice. Okay, Solomon, it's time for rapid fire. Are you ready?
What? Wait, I got through.
Yeah.
I
What
got through the interview, huh?
you did, you did. We are at 50 minutes now, so it's about that
Okay.
time.
All right.
Is there anything else that you want to throw in there?
No, no. I think
Yeah.
I think we're
Yeah.
good.
It flew by. I was like, wow, we're already at time. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that.
yeah, I know. It was just, and I barely looked at the questions. I was just going with it. Okay, rapid fire then.
Uh-oh.
First question, you know it's coming. Billboard question. If you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, what would it say? Metaphorically.
I know, not sit up straight,
Yeah.
which was the best one, by
Oh,
the
yeah, that
way.
was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say believe in yourself, and I know it sounds corny and cliche, but I would say that believe in yourself.
Do you feel like that's kind of the most important thing people need to hear?
Yeah, I think so because I think nowadays too, especially with the way things going on, people need a sense of self empowerment.
Mm.
I think people are too concerned about what's being taken away or what they can and can't do or what they're being allowed to do. And I think it starts with believing in yourself. And I I didn't come from a poor family, but we didn't have many opportunities either. And a lot of what I had to create for myself. And so I feel like if I can do it, anybody can do it.
I like it. What is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life, and what did you learn from it?
Hmm. Hardest challenges. Um.
People stealing your Reese's or your dog bowls?
Oh yeah, people coming in. I think they think the Reese's is a snack where they could just eat them all. Um, I think a lot of challenges are in starting this business, and just what I mentioned about the financial side of it. I didn't prioritize that, and so it caused me problems later on. It cost me opportunities later on. Where you can go out and get business loans, things like that.
Mm,
If you don't have that stuff lined up right, it can hurt you later on in business when you're trying to grow.
makes sense. Um, Self-inflicted wound. Do you have a story about something that's gone wrong in your life and it's your own fault and you can't blame anyone else?
Ooh. Well, I could say same thing, but I'm gonna see if I can have something different. Self-inflicted wound. Hmm. Uh, I would say not going to college. I think that closed a lot of doors for me. You know, um, and the thing that I'm seeing is like you hear about all of these guys who like went to college for a year or two or whatever. They started a company and all this. It's not just finishing; it's the relationships you can create while you're there, the people you meet, who are in the same alignment. So I think that's one thing that I could have done, but I didn't do.
Hmm. I think that's true because they say college, especially graduate programs,
Yeah.
not the highly technical ones that you need like medical school, right? But the value in that, like going to Stanford, for example, it's
Yeah.
in the network. It's not necessarily in what you learn because you can
Right.
learn anything, anytime, anywhere.
Right.
But it's the networks of saying I'm in this alumni network or whatever, and those connections and the experiences, like you said,
Right. Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. If you could redo one thing, what would you do differently? Anything we didn't mention already?
Um. I can redo one thing. Um. Oh, I think I would spend more time with my mom.
Mm.
I think.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, I mean, because
Yeah, a
and I felt like I did well by my mom, but I feel like now that I look back, I wish I had been like, there more.
little bit more. Yeah. Reminder to everyone: spend time with your mom
Yeah.
and or any family members. If you could redo one thing, or sorry, if you could give your younger self advice, what would it be now?
Mm. Um, Things were tough with me because I grew up. I had these scars right here that I got from a car accident when I was young,
Oh, dang.
and so your formative years, you grow up, and all the kids call you ugly and names and things like that.
Or they still call you ugly, like for me. Just kidding.
I think I would tell myself, you're loved. You know what I mean? You're loved, and that's just insecure people being insecure. So that's what I would say.
Mm. That's beautiful. I like it. In the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life?
Hmm. Belief, behavior. Like I talked about with time management, that's something I recently started. In the last 6 months, where um, like let's say for instance, it's Thursday and I see nobody's booked on a Saturday, I'll block the Saturday off, and take that time for myself. Things like that where you can't be afraid that you're gonna miss out on money or whatever. I mean, it's like I said, everything is a chance, right? But you gotta do some things that say, you know what, I have value, my business has value, and if people don't, if people see it, then they'll wait and they'll come back. So another thing I did is I raised my prices.
Mm.
And that's something I've done recently too, and that was a big step because you always feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose clients or whatever. But then when you think about it, you say, okay, for the value I offer, and it takes a lot of believing in yourself to do that. And so that's a step that was sort of scary, but I did it, and so far it's working out.
Nice. Was when was the last time you've increased your prices at all, or if you have?
Well, it's funny, when I started the business, I was at $69 per episode. And then I went up 2 years later, I went up to $99, but I included some things,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And so it's been about 2 years since I last raised my prices.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was the starting rates, and then it was
Yeah.
2 years after that, and then now.
Yeah.
Okay, so averaging about like 2-ish years or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just doing the math in my head. Like, okay,
Yeah, but I don't think it's something
you're not thinking of
same
it
here
like two
because
years, right?
yeah, because I mean, I think, you gotta
Do what makes
understand where
sense.
your clients are at and all of
Hmm.
that.
Makes sense. Okay, how do you define success?
Enjoying the journey, really. And I know we talked about that, but you know, success to me sounds like you're sitting on a mountaintop and now you're just complacent because you got nothing else to do. And so to me, the journey is always there. And that's one of the things I pride myself on. I'm 57 years old and I'm still like, I feel like I'm still evolving. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to learn new things and make this place better or whatever it is. And so yeah, just making sure you're getting fulfillment out of the journey, I think is successful to me.
Mm. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you try, or what would you be doing right now?
Ooh, if I couldn't fail,
Yeah.
hmm. Every time I hear you ask this question, I never really understand it. Like, it's like, I mean, what would you, if you couldn't fail, you could do anything.
Yeah. I guess it's like, if I were to rephrase it, you remove the chance of not succeeding at a task you set out to do.
Oh, what
Because that's
fun
what
is
stops
it's
people,
like
right?
what's fun is that though?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, no
Yeah.
constraints, no risk, right? It's not fun.
Right.
This is for the people who like fear stops them from doing anything, and they're
Oh,
only
yeah, yeah,
choosing
yeah.
safe options.
Yeah. Um I I don't know.
Astronaut?
I mean,
Same
probably
things.
probably not astronaut.
Okay.
I would probably be I would probably be an author. I'd probably write a book, which
Mm,
I probably will do anyway,
okay.
but yeah.
What do you want to write a book about?
Um some element of my experience. I haven't really worked it out yet
Mm,
though. Just some element of my life experience in a way, not in a biographical way, but just in a practical way that can help people.
mm.
Just
Maybe
think
like a half sort of thing. Some people do that. It's like not really a
yeah.
memoir, but it's like a life lessons, but then it's focused on like
Yeah.
a topic or areas or insights, but it's
Right,
not
the biographical part is like the
it's
examples of whatever.
exactly. It's like here's what I learned and this is how I learned it
Yeah.
from my story.
Yeah,
Something
so
like that.
I think it would be somewhere along the lines of 10 ways to get the most out of life or
Mm,
something like that,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you knew you would absolutely fail, what would you do anyway?
Ooh, I'd probably do this.
Okay. I'm starting to feel that that's like the normal answer.
Well, I just love I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's the challenge, you
Of
know what I
course.
mean? It's like that's what makes it fun. Eh,
Anything else besides this?
um, well, and I would fail at it.
You fail, but you'll do it anyways because you just feel like you want to do it.
Yeah. Like I said, just anything that allows me to just integrate things and put things together to make them work a certain way for somebody. I think that would be it. I don't know if I started a company. I don't know what I call the integrators or something
Oh,
like
I
that,
see. I
right?
see.
Yeah. So I think that's what I just get the most like enjoyment out of, just making things work.
I like that. What is something you've been pondering a lot recently or deeply?
Well, to be honest, I mean, you can't help but ponder the whole political thing right now that's going on, and just it's like you're trying to balance what's right for the country with what's decent for the humanity in the country, and I think there's no middle ground right now. People are just on one side or the other side of that, and it's hard to see, and you want your country to be good and safe and all of that, but at the same time, you have to understand where you're at today, and you can't just say, "Well, we're just gonna make it this way," and just, think you can just rip everything down, rip everything apart. You have to gradually work toward that. And I think, there's a certain level of sensitivity that needs to be had by the people in charge right now.
Mm,
But that's yeah, what's been on my mind lately.
yeah. Do you have any favorite hot takes? Not about
Ooh.
necessarily about politics. It could be about anything.
One Piece suck. No.
Whoa! Canceled.
No.
Scrapping
um
this episode immediately.
hmm. Hot takes.
Yeah.
Now that means something that
That you think maybe most people won't agree with or necessarily think is true, but you think is true.
oh,
That's how I phrase it, I guess.
okay. Star Trek was one of the best TV series ever.
You really think people don't think so?
I think a lot of people look at it as campy or whatever, but
Um,
yeah, to me, it's just like I grew up. Captain Kirk was like my dad.
yeah.
It's just like, and it's amazing though when you look back and think it only ran like 5 seasons.
Really?
Yeah,
In my head, it ran for like decades or something.
yeah, and it was 5 seasons
Why does it feel like it's been longer?
because the Star Trek marathons used to come on at Thanksgiving, and
Oh,
but yeah,
that
that's
includes the different captains,
no,
Kirk and Picard. Oh,
just the Star Trek show, the
oh,
original
gotcha.
with William Shatner and Leonard
That's
Nimoy.
Captain
Kirk.
Kirk. Okay, and then so the other ones, that extends beyond 5 seasons.
Yeah, those are like yeah,
Spinoffs or
spinoffs, right? Star
oh,
Trek Next Generation and
oh,
Deep
okay.
Space
Maybe
Nine
that's
and
why I feel like
Voyager and
it's deeper, kind of like Star Wars, where it's like the lore is deeper than just the three original or something like that.
yeah, but Star Wars. Well, yeah, you're right because Star Wars, it's the movies and the new movies, and then it's the cartoons and then it's all
Right.
the other
And then it's all
series.
the legends, like books and other media, comics and everything.
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. It might not be that hot of a take, but I
Okay.
just had people look at me Star Trek.
Mm,
Why not Star Wars? And like, well,
I see.
I don't know.
I feel like I don't doubt that Star Trek is beloved. I think in my perspective, I think people who just don't like it are more just separated from it and just don't know anything about it. But the people who know
Yeah, it
about
could
it, I
be.
feel like
Yeah.
they like it, and I'm like, that's fair. I mean, you probably do like it, and I don't doubt. Like, I don't knock you for liking it,
Right.
but I don't know anything about it, so that's why I don't. You know,
Right.
yeah. But okay, that's fair. I
Yeah.
am I like Star Wars, but I don't think those are the same thing. Like those are apples and oranges. But I get why they're always put in the same conversation.
Yeah, well, because they're both sci-fi and
They both have
they both
Star.
have
Yeah,
cult followings, basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made in either time, money, energy, etc.?
Uh, well, recently the smartwatch because most of the time when I record, I gotta have my phone on silent, right? And
Mm,
so you get all your friends and family and everybody. How come you never answered my phone call? Da 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 da. Because I don't remember to look at it. I don't remember to
mm,
take it back off silent and all of that. So I just leave it there. But with a watch, I can see when people text me. I can see when somebody's at the front door. And I can let them in from the watch. So
mm,
it's been a really practical benefit to having it.
mm.
Yeah.
Oh, what kind of smartwatch do you have?
Well, I have a Samsung phone, so I got the Samsung watch.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
I am an Android person.
Nice. Okay, that's investments, but now the next one is favorite recent purchase in the $50 to $100 range that has impacted your life the most recently.
$50 to $100 range. I'm trying to
Relatively
think.
cheap, doesn't matter the price.
I know. I me see. Looking around.
He's like, nah, everything I buy is expensive.
Well, no, it's not that. I just can't think of something that's impacted my life. Well, oh, you know what? The case for this phone.
Mm.
The cool thing about this is it allows me to keep the pen, and it has a
Oh,
stand, so when I go to eat, I can, watch a TV show because it folds like this, right?
yeah.
So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, so this stand was less than $50, and it
Very
was a real
functional.
life changer because now I don't have to ask for an extra bottle of ketchup to put my phone against. So
Mm.
um,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think phone cases, especially the really functional ones or
yeah,
ones that work for you, I feel
yeah,
like are good buy.
yeah, and it's not anything good looking. I bought it purely for the
The
function.
functional,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm right there with you. All right, last rapid fire. Favorite books, movies, videos, articles, or any media that you share or recommend the most?
Hmm. Well, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I can tell you though that I don't do self help at all. My thing with audiobooks and even TV for the most part is my escape, right? So it's my enjoyment, and so a lot of sci-fi, a lot of thrillers, and things like that. So I would just tell people in general, find something that lets you break away for a while. I mean, I think that's good.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you have any personal recs that you want to throw out there?
oh, in terms of a good audiobook, let's see.
Anything, audiobook, media, shows, whatever.
Shows. See, I like campy shows. I'm watching this show called Nautilus right now on AMC
Nautilus?
Plus. Yeah, it's
Mm.
about the actual submarine, the Nautilus, by the story by Jules Verne.
Mm.
And it's just a modern take on it. Well, but they're authentic to the story from the standpoint that the captain is Indian, and there are a lot of Indian people involved. But it's just those. It's like a campy show. I
Mm.
just I just enjoy those types of things.
Hmm.
So,
Anything else besides Nautilus or any audiobooks or anything?
um, an audiobook. Let's see. Well, I'm very post-apocalyptic. So there's a series called Helldivers, which I
Helldivers.
would recommend. And think of this: the world has been destroyed by a nuclear explosion, right? So, and there's this constant storms and everything, and all these mutated creatures live on the land, so people can't live there. So survivors live in these airships,
Mm.
and basically they dive down to certain places to get supplies and everything and then go back up, and of course they have adventures because they're running for their lives down there, and so that's why it's called hell divers, because they're diving into
Into hell.
hell to
Oh.
so that humanity can survive, you know and
Oh.
so it's a series of books where eventually they find land and decent land, and they're trying to get earth back the way it was and all of this other stuff. But yeah, just a really good series of books.
Mm. How many books in this series, and do you know the author?
Ooh, the I can find the author, but you can just
Type in
Google it.
Helldiver. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know how many books it
Uh
is?
I think it was 8.
8?
Yeah, I think it was 8. Um but yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. I'll link the first book in the series, and then you guys can check it out.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. All right, Solomon. That is it for rapid fire. You made it. We got to the end. Exciting. All right. Well, let's go into any questions as usual. So gratitude. Shout out to my mother who was here.
Mhm.
Solomon, what are you grateful for?
Uh in sound corny, I'm grateful for you.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for the people who have come here and shared their goals with me and let me be part of their journeys. I'm really grateful for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you have any final ask from the audience or any final takeaways you'd like them to have from this conversation?
Um, I would say don't let anything stop you. You know, um, you know, have dreams, but be smart about going about it. Know the tools you need to succeed. But the biggest thing is just keep going. You know, you get a lot of those motivational messages on the days when things aren't going well, and you're going, maybe I should stop this. And somebody sends you something that says, just keep going. Or you see that goofy cartoon where the guy's digging a tunnel and he's always at the end, and he gives up.
And the
And
goal
so,
the goal is
yeah.
just right there.
And so that always keeps me going. So, keep going. Don't let anything stop you.
Nice. Okay, Solomon, where can people find you or check out what you're up to if they want to connect?
I don't have personal social media, but I do have Instagram for the studio. And so that's at podcast place. at Podcast Place, just like it is, no underscores or anything. And yeah, take a look there. And then, of course, our website is podcastplace.com. And like I said, I'm gonna be trying to focus on this social media. I want to do this tour, and so just stay tuned for some new content that'll really give you an insight of what it's like to have do your podcast here.
Nice. Cool. Well, I would just like to say, as the host of 1000 Gurus, I highly recommend Solomon and Podcast Place. Obviously, had 5 seasons here. So if you guys are interested in checking out what he has to offer and you want to start your own podcast and have a studio that's turnkey and the entire service from A to Z, this is the right place to go. So just throwing it out there. Cool. All right, we have reached the end. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, whatever you guys do. Leave us some comments as well. Give Solomon some love. Check out his Instagram and everything. And yeah, so reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself. And remember that you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thanks for being here.